second one, right? So there's a need or a desire that energizes us to achieve a goal. So if you tap your feet right now to calm yourself down, right? You shake your leg, or you click your pin, right? Subconsciously, there's a need or desire that energizes you to be calm, right? So you may be thinking about something subconsciously or consciously, or you may be bored, you may be tired, you may be hungry, you may be thirsty. But at every second of our life, we're constantly having a need or desire to achieve a goal, right? When we talk about homeostasis, so our body is constantly, every second, seeking to be balanced out, right? At any point in time. So if we get bored, we look at our phone. If I'm bored, okay, let me direct my attention or focus to my phone or laptop or something of the sort, or think about something else, right? Because your body is telling you there's a need or desire to achieve getting out of boredom, right? Getting out of being exhausted, something of the sort. So, but this also applies to long-term. So we do have long-term goals, and we focus a need or desire to achieve those goals. Which in case we're here at Concordia trying to achieve a degree, because we have an assumption or belief that it will achieve some level of success, and most importantly, to feel achieved. Human beings like to feel achieved. Now there's different scales we use in psychology to measure sort of achievement personality. Not everybody wants to be achieved, or feel achieved. You may know people who feel like, man, they don't do anything. They've been doing the same stuff from like 5 years ago. How come they don't want to do this? How come they don't want to do that? How come they don't want to do better, or be better, or get more stuff, or get more education, or blah, 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 right? It may be that personality-wise, that they are just low on achievement skill, right? They don't have the motivation as you do to say, hey, college is hard, it's long, it's gonna take a long time, take a lot of money, but not doing it, right? That means in your mind, you have a high level of achievement to say, even though this is hard, even though this is long, you know, it's a lot of work, a lot of money, I like that challenge, right? So in some way in your brain, you like challenges. You're high up on the achievement scale, right? You like to be challenged. You want somebody to give you a hard task to do. You want to try to overcome yourself in some way, right? Push the boundaries, see how far you can take it. So innately, there's a need or desire, a stimulation for us to want to achieve goals. So we like accomplishments. A lot of us like to be sort of praised for our accomplishments. Others maybe could care a little bit less about that. Maybe they like to praise themselves. They don't need others to praise them. But whether or not we still like the idea of accomplishment, whether it be sort of, to present to other people or just to present it to ourselves. All right, so achievement, motivation, desire for a significant accomplishment, for mastery of skills or ideas, for control, and for attaining a high standard. In our minds, we have a standard, right? Based on our culture, based on the country we grew in, the neighborhood, our family, what we watch on social media, right? TV, whatever influences we have, in our brain is a standard. And we probably say, hey, above this is greatness, and below this is failure, right? And so winners and losers, you know, accomplished, failures. In our mind, we have some sort of level, some sort of threshold that we have represented as some sort of standard. And those of us who like achievement want to be above that. But we also want to master skills or ideas. We like to say that we're good at particular things in life. We want to be able to master something, in which case you'll seek out your profession, and say, I am this, right? I'm a nurse or an educator or an engineer of some sort. We also like to master ideas, right? So that's what we do all the time. And which I think college is most important for is an exchange of ideas amongst curious-minded people. So honestly, maybe you learn more from each other than you do with your professors, depending on, what topics you're interested in or whatnot. Because there's an exchange of ideas of people you possibly wouldn't have met before had you not come here, and they're all seeking to accomplish themselves. I'm pretty sure they have some great ideas that you probably haven't thought about, which ultimately helps you to be a more well-rounded person. All right, so high motivation achievers, accomplish more, greater financial success, healthier social relationships, and emotional well-being. Why healthier social relationships for high achievers? What's your assumptions or guesses? Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times, relationships are ruined because you don't see yourself as like equal to them, or you think that they're better than you, or it's a competition. And if you're unmotivated to achieve a lot, you don't have that. That's not better than you.
Okay. But would there possibly still be a problem if the other person feels, even if they don't express it, right? We all have these perceptions of one another that go unexpressed. What else? But no, you're right about that. What else? People who want to achieve a lot. People who are high up on motivation scale, high up on achievement scale. Why do they have better social relationships? Right? Yeah, they achieve, they got the money, the cars, the houses, the education, yada, yada, yada. Why do they appear to have better social relationships? Yes?
Because everybody wants to be a part of their success, so like they just automatically flock to them.
Yeah, that could be a reason, right? A reason could be they represent a goal, right? And thus we go on Instagram, right? TikTok, YouTube, and who we look up. We look up people who we kind of wish we want to be in a position. Maybe we don't wish that we want to be exactly who they are, but we wish we were in the position that they're in, right? Wow, I wish I had that opportunity. I wish I had a car. How did you get that? I need to follow this person's path. I wish I looked like this person, in the way that they dress or makeup, something, beauty standards. So they could be some sort of mental representation of our goal, in which case we'll be motivated to be around them and stimulated to be around them. What's some other reasons? Right, think of if you are high motivation achievers, your actual goal, remember we said it's about problem solving. You show up to school, you know this is gonna be a problem, you know it's gonna be a lot of work, a lot of money, but you still did it to show you're high up on the achievement scale. But relationships, you see those are problems too. Relationships are problems, they're never easy. Either with family, romantic partners, friends, classmates, co-workers, right? Things are never smooth all the time with people. So high motivation achievers see those as problems and they try to adapt, right, to those people. In which case you could say maybe like politicians, great at this. Now, is it real or is it fake? Who knows, right? Only person knows is that individual. But they do know how to navigate social relationships to be very likable, right? Which means that they know how to adapt to kind of get what they want in that frame of the relationship. So they have a goal. The goal is a relationship, they get it at all costs. Once again, they just see social interactions as another problem to be solved, right? Now, emotional well-being, what do we think about that? So just themselves. So thinking about themselves, why do they appear to be successful with their own emotions? guesses? Right, no one answer. Yes?
They need to like, they need to learn how to organize their emotions, because if their emotions are in the way, they won't be able to like achieve anything.
Yeah, absolutely, right? They say, hey, emotions are obstacles, right? And they appear to observe other people like, oh wow, that person gets angry, and that's stopping them from doing goals, right? That person's gonna never achieve what they wanna achieve. Oh wow, that person is extremely sensitive. Let's see how far that gets that in life, that gets them in life. In fact, I don't wanna be like that. So they appear to watch other human beings' emotions and see how it stops them from attaining goals. And they work on that, and they identify it within themselves, very conscious of it, and they knock it out the way, right? They knock it out the way because it's another obstacle. Remember, they're about solving problems and overcoming obstacles. So they demonstrate persistence, which is, you believe you're gonna achieve the goal no matter what, right? You fail, you try again, you fail, you try again. Self-discipline, some grit, right? They appear to be very strong-willed, I would say. And most likely intrinsic motivation, just mean they're able to motivate themselves without looking for other people, right? They may can motivate themselves highly as opposed to why I picked up this motivating book on personal development, why I went on YouTube, I looked up this powerful speech. That may help them in some sense from there, but they don't need that, right? They're absolutely motivated innately by themselves, and they know how to self-generate motivation, just out of thin air. All right, some research-based strategies for achieving goals, right? This is what the research shows on the best ways to achieve goals. One, they need to be concrete, they need to be very clear, right? Your goals shouldn't be ambiguous. If they're ambiguous, then that's gonna be another obstacle, another hurdle to try to jump, because really you don't even know what you wanna do, right? You're not even sure. And you should have some certainty in some regard, right? It depends on a lot of factors, but you should have some certainty based on you knowing you. Right? You knowing that you know which direction will probably be best for you. Now, if you deny yourself, right, and you try to, once again, kind of play up other people's mindsets, and you find yourself living the life of other people, and actually engaging in goals and careers of other people. Maybe you feel your family pressured you or something. Plan, right? Poor planning leads to poor results. Right? So for anybody that ever had bad results, not for everything, but for most things that we are in control of, stuff we're in control of. Poor planning leads to poor results. So develop an implementation plan is critical. Create short-term rewards that support long-term goals, right? So, sort of taking breaks and giving yourself sort of a bonus after each step, right? Don't make your goals too long before you celebrate. Have a celebration point on the way to your long-term goals. Right? Monitor and record your progress. Go back and analyze and see what you did wrong, right? What could have been done different. Oftentimes, looking back, it's best practice to understand what state of mind you're in, right? Because a lot of times we have guilt or resentment towards ourselves about making mistakes, or some sense of failure, and we really forget to think about what state of mind we were in when we made that action. Like, how were we actually thinking? Were we happy? Were we depressed? Did something bad happen at the time in our life? Also, what kind of information did we have, right? You have more information now than you did yesterday. So you made decisions yesterday based on the information you had at that present moment. So that's one way to kind of monitor and record your progress, examine those things. Create a supportive environment, which means the people you surround yourself with counts. you're around negative people or people who are envious, or people who don't want you to succeed or put you down and say you can't do that, people who deny what you can do, that's not very supportive. You should try to limit your time around those individuals. Transform difficult behavior into habit. Right? Difficult behavior into habit, which means sort of observing things that are difficult and overcoming them. Try to habitualize the methods in which you overcome. Right? So I guess kind of picking out and observing your core competencies. All right, we'll talk about hunger for a bit. Why? Because hunger is a huge motivator for us to do stuff, right? It's probably one of the prime ones that we experience every day, all the time, because we need food to survive. Right, in which case, it's been theorized that we have a gut brain, right? So we say up here we have these neurotransmitters, and we say it's a processing center, and it sends off signals to the body to do certain tasks, right? And we'll receive information back up here to process, to think about what we've done. So, you know, the brain's sort of like a computer. But your gut also has some of the same functions as like your neurotransmitters in your brain. So it sends off information to different parts of the body based on your diet. So we have hormones and systems in place that either make you hungry or feel hunger or desire to want to eat. And then we have other hormones that suppress that, right? And if we overeat, we throw everything out of whack. And we know that obesity is a huge problem here in this country. And so we think of, well, if this impacts the way we think, if what we eat actually impacts the way we think, because we're messing up our signals to our stomach, our gut brain, this is gonna be a huge problem for many people in this country. It's projected that I think 50% of the country will be diabetic, I think in the next like 15 years, half of the country, right? Which is primarily due to obesity. In which case we say these signals can cause sorts of problems, right? Depression, anxiety, fatigue, tired, right? Just think about how you feel when you overeat and you're like, oh, I have itis, and I just want to sleep, I just want to relax, right? And you oversleep, now you slept too much, now you are drowsy, now you throwing your energy off, now you can't think straight, right? All of this is related to hunger. So there's three sort of things here for physiology of hunger, which is the body chemistry in the brain, glucose, which is blood sugar levels, our set point where we are kind of baseline where we should be in terms of eating and hunger, and basal metabolic rate, which we talk about how we burn off calories and whatnot. So the hypothalamus is the part of the brain which is responsible for processing our sense of hunger, us knowing that we are hungry. And they illustrated rats because rats always appear to eat nonstop, which means that rats have a very large hypothalamus relevant to their body size. In our brain, we have something called ghrelin, right? So we got ghrelin, insulin, PYY, which is a peptide, and then leptin. These are just hormones, right? And ghrelin is the hormone that controls your food intake, how much your body feels that you should intake, right? So you feel like if you can just eat a cheeseburger and you eat less than a cheeseburger, you're still gonna feel hungry because your ghrelin levels haven't been satisfied, right? And if you've overeaten, you've overcompensated for your ghrelin, and on the flip side, your leptin and your PYY will kick in and tell you, hey, we need to stop being so hungry because we're overeating. But we can override that system just with our minds and begin to eat too much. So the psychology of hunger involves body chemistry, brain activity, and memory of time of last meal, right? So our mind automatically calculates when's the last time we ate. Primarily, we think we want to eat about 3 times a day, and maybe snack maybe twice a day. And we don't even need our gut to let us know that. Over time, we just kind of process that in our memory. Taste preferences, influenced by body cues and environmental factors. So here we're looking at the mean annual temperature. It's kind of just a representation of people's taste preferences for spices around the world, right? So here what they're saying is the hotter the climate, the more spices used. So if you travel around the world in very hot, humid climates, typically the food is spicier. If you've gone into more colder climates, maybe like northern parts of Europe, spicy food is not appreciated there, right? So depending on the environment, it's kind of what will incline ourselves for our taste preferences. Right, down south, like in the deep south, people take their coffee, it looks like a milkshake, kind of how I take it. A lot of cream, a lot of sugar, it's almost like a milkshake. And then you go back to the northeast, and people take their coffee without sugar and cream a lot of times. Right? They have it black. Right? So tastes and preferences are geographical and cultural in nature. All right, some situational influences on eating, because remember, eating is responsible for our mood. Eating is responsible for our behavior at times. Eating is responsible for our state of mind, how we feel, and it's the most easily accessible things to make us feel comfortable. It's like we have a crappy day, or we have a crappy hour, what do? We reach for some carbs, right? We reach for some carbs really quick, and now what? It's calmed us down, it's relaxed us, we feel better. But maybe we've eaten too much, so we know we're gonna have to pay for it later, right? But some other factors influence hunger, right? Situational ones. Arousing appetites, friends and food. So obviously when you get around your friends, one of the best things to do with them is to eat together, right? Even when it's family, you eat together, have dinner, it's a wonderful experience, and food is sort of the medium between everybody to bring them together. Serving size, do you eat what you see on the plate, or do you eat for your actual appetite? Right? Maybe in your culture, you're like, oh, we don't waste anything. You're like, well, we should waste some stuff, or not make it as big, because maybe it's unhealthy if we eat everything all the time, right? Your selection is basically your taste and preferences on what you eat, what you want to eat, right? Whether you eat fruits and vegetables and just eat a bunch of bread and carbs, sugars and stuff. All right, so there's a lot of physical health risks for obesity, increased depression, right? Bullying. So there's some social factors when being obese. Some physiological factors. Storing fat was adaptive for us. Set point in metabolism matter. So not everybody burns off the calories as fast as others, or processes the food as fast as others. And genes influence everything, right? When it really comes to our physical appearances and metabolism. Some other environmental factors: sleep loss. All right, so if you eat poorly, so if you eat late at night, it's probably gonna keep you up, you're probably not gonna get a good night's rest. And some social influences. Maybe you're not eating enough, and now you're crabby, you're cranky, or hangry. And so you treat people differently. And then food and activity levels, which means that either you have, maybe you don't have enough energy because you've got a sugar crash, or you have more than enough energy because you've got the right nutrition. And here are some weight loss strategies. Begin when motivated and self-disciplined. Exercise and sleep adequately, right? These are all part of helping to lose weight. Minimize exposure to tempting food cues, so stop being around certain foods if you know they're gonna tempt you. Limit your variety and eat healthy foods, reduce your portions, and don't starve and stuff. Decide what you will eat before eating with other people, right? Don't compromise on what you're gonna eat just because you're going to a fancy restaurant with some friends. Still maybe get something healthy. Chart your progress, connect to a support group, and remember most people occasionally lapse. Which means food just another addictive substance that obviously makes us feel great. There's nothing wrong with eating great food, but if not done correctly, can lead to a lot of issues. All right, emotions, right? The big one, emotions, right? Emotions kind of come in three forms, right? So we say emotions are expressive, right? Do you look angry? Do you look happy? Are you smiling? Are you grimacing? Do you look in pain? So we say they come in expressive behaviors, right? And bodily arousal, right? Are you stimulated for a particular emotion? Are you stimulated for, who here has, I would say traits for road rage? Who here gets road rage? Anybody? So what happens when you get cut off? If someone's driving too slow in the morning, how do you respond?
I just think you're, oh, so you wanna be like that? I'll do it to you.
So do you ever express it to the other driver?
Yeah, I just start speeding and cut him off.
Wow. Has it ever gotten you into trouble? Like ever
They
gotten?
get mad, but I'm like, I feel like I put my pride first. I'm like, no, I was in front of you. Why you cut me?
Okay, so you think you're triggered because the audacity?
Yeah,
But it
like you
does-
have the audacity to do that to me.
Yeah, okay. The audacity of like lack of respect, right? Somebody cutting you off, maybe you feel like you're being disrespected, or maybe they put you in danger because they stopped really quick, you know? You're like, why should you be driving? Who else? Who else has road rage? So what do you,
I just get upset when people don't use their signals. Like,
which is a big problem in
there's no
Chicago.
reason, like, if you're gonna cut me off, at least use
Put
your
your
signal.
signal. Yeah, that one I can understand. But what do you do? Do you do anything, or just kinda internalize and keep it to yourself?
I mean, I kinda panic, just cause like, I didn't see him coming in, so it could've been, I could've got like in an accident, and then I get upset. And as I think about it, I get more and more upset, so
Okay.
I never do, like, I'm too afraid to like confront them about it.
Okay. Who else? You were saying you, how do you respond?
I usually honk like when they like don't know what lane they wanna go into, so they keep going back and forth. It's just like yesterday I had like someone in front of me like was in the middle of two lanes.
Yeah.
And I was like, can you like move? And then I can't switch cause then everyone else is going behind me too, so I'm like, I'm stuck in a position. So I honk and like try
Is that
to-
normally in the morning, or like coming to
At
school or
night.
leaving? Oh, at night, yeah, at night people are driving, oh,
Yeah.
crazy. Alright, so think about that, right? So we got expressive behavior, so we get some sort of arousal. Maybe we feel like our life's been threatened, or we're aroused because we feel, oh my gosh, the audacity, we're disrespected. So some people express them in a way, and need to share it with the other person, and some people may more internalize it, just kind of process it, right? To think of why this person did that, right? And so we have a conscious experience of the emotion, like the emotion comes to our mind, and now it triggers something. It triggers actual body chemistry to say, okay, well now it's changed my mood, you know, it's ruined my day, or if I'm happy, you know, it's changed my mood in a great way. I feel very positive, I feel very brave, right? So these are the three components of emotion. So how do these three pieces fit? together to explain emotion. So we got a couple theories here, right? Well, three of them. James Lange theory, right, which says arousal comes before emotion. So we're thinking that arises of a specific bodily response to emotion arousing stimuli, which is simply to say that our body triggers how we feel first outside of the actual activity, the thing that happened, right? Because we say we have the thing in the context. How did something happen? What is the thing that happened that caused our body to arouse itself? Which is say basically emotion is just a stimulus for us to respond and have an expression towards it, right? A physical expression, screaming, crying, happy, any of these things. Whereas Cannon and Bard say that arousal and emotion occur simultaneously, that they don't happen in sequence one after another, right? That it happens like a snapshot, both at the same time. And this motion arousing stimuli trigger bodily responses and simultaneous subjective experience. So it's like they come together to bring some sort of meaning to our mind and be like, wow, this is happening, right? And I feel a way about it. And then Schachter and Singer have a two-factor theory, right? They say general arousal and conscious cognitive label equal emotion, and there's some sort of spillover effect. Which basically says we have to recognize that something happened first before we get aroused, right? And then have an expressive emotion. That the context matters first, right? It has to come to our brain, and we have to be conscious of it. And the label is just what we call that particular emotion, like, anger, happiness, any of those sorts. And as Jean Ledoux theory says that some embodied responses happen instantly without conscious appraisal. So it's saying we're not consciously appraising any of these things. Are you conscious that when you're being cut off, you're gonna scream at somebody? You're like, no, that was probably instinct. Right? I didn't even think about it. Because maybe after you do it, and if you do it really bad, you're kind of like, dang, why did I do that? I shouldn't have. That was bad, right? Or I could have put myself in danger. Like that person looked really volatile. Like they could have came back and did something bad, right? So they're saying we have these responses without any sort of conscious appraisal of them. And then also acutely sensitive radar for emotionally significant information, which just means that over time we just have this intuitive, instinctive sense for when certain events happen that we just have an automatic response. And maybe that's due to our environment, right? So we grew up in a hostile environment, and people argue and fight all the time, or exhibit violence as form of communication, and we might instantly do the same thing if somebody triggers us. And there's also Lazarus, which is cognitive appraisal defines emotion, sometimes without awareness, which means that person needs time to think first. Now they say, you know what? I assessed it, now I'm mad. Or I assessed it, now I'm happy. That was a good thing, right? So there's a process of sort of assessing, appraising, as we would call it, the emotion, and then have an emotion, an expression about it. So you can think of just different personality types or traits. You're like, hey, I know somebody who never gets mad, no matter what, no matter how bad the situation is, the context. You're like, what makes them so stoic? They never get angry. Like, well, maybe they just take a different route, right? We have several theories that probably all apply in some sense. So some people are automatically triggered and express emotion. Some people maybe internalize it and then come back to you later to talk about it. And some people may never express it at all. In which case we could say maybe some people have sociopathic traits, right? Even maybe psychopathic trends, which means ultimately they just don't respond on average the same to something that a normal person would. Right? They don't view certain emotions the way an average person would. All right, the physiology of emotions. All right, we got our prefrontal cortex, and we say that's the one that does all the analyzing, processing, the one that separates us from most of the other animals, right? Make us creative. We got our visual cortex receiving some information. We can see here that this woman is exhibiting an expression of an emotion, right? It looks like the expression would be fear, right? And so there's a stimulus of fear coming through her visual parameters, and then going out to the amygdala, the process, and then having a response. Right? So she sees something visually, she processes as something to be frightened of, she analyzes it real quick, and maybe she jumps out the run, right? Because of fear. And maybe the fear is irrational. Maybe it's something that shouldn't be feared, so we can say, hey, maybe fear is conditioned learning, right? My son, who's 3, what is he scared of now? He switches what he's scared of at given points in time. But right now he's scared of like dinosaurs or something. And now he's not scared of monsters anymore. Because as a kid, you know, I'm a big kind of like horror movie freak, so I grew up watching a bunch of horror movies, so kind of introduced my kids to horror movies. So he's seen a lot of like monsters and real, you know, sort of bad stuff. Not too much to harm him, but now he's kind of desensitized to things that an adult would be afraid of. All right, basic emotions. Most emotions for scientists we have identified here as anger, fear, disgust, sadness, and happiness. Right? Which Izzard says joy, interest, excitement. So we're just expressing things in different ways, labeling them different things. So Izzard says that there's joy, right? There's interest, excitement, right? You're happy because you're interested in something. Maybe you listen to a comedy skit and you don't laugh at everything. You laugh at certain parts that interest you, thus it excites you. Right? Surprise or shock, sadness, anger, disgust. Think of that. Like, how do you even express disgust? Like, what is disgust? Who could give a description of disgust? All right, some of the emotions are kind of hard to convey, like what they actually are. Contempt, fear, shame, guilt. Think of shame. You know, what does that involve? Where does shame come from? You're ashamed of what? That mean that, hey, you actually care about what other people think, right? Else you wouldn't feel any shame. Or guilt, right? You feel guilty because of maybe you have some sort of moral code, and now you violated that moral code, and now your subconscious is saying, hey, you shouldn't violate something we believe is right. And later on, we got Tracy and colleagues who added pride and love as basic emotions. We think of pride, that one's probably huge because of social media, right? Because we represent ourselves on social media, thus a lot of us, anybody who's on there really has some sort of sense of pride about either who they are, or what they do, or some activities they're engaged in. And love, do you think love is a basic emotion? Or sort of a rare emotion? What do you think? Is love something you rarely experience, or do you experience it all the time? Yeah.
Depends what type of love.
Yeah, so you said maybe it's the context, maybe it's different types of love, right? What do you think are some types?
I mean, like, everybody experiences unconditional love towards their family members. You know what I mean? But when it comes to like a significant other, that's a different type of love that you don't
Yeah.
really experience every day.
Yeah, alright, so it depends on the relationship, right? So say, hey, family, even that one, you could dissect that further, right? You kinda like, for most men, mom is like second to God, right? So you say, maybe sometimes, you know, sometimes I think it is, kinda universally true, like if you've had two parents, both parents around, typically daddy's little girl, my daughter, like, can't do anything wrong, right? And then it's like mama's boy, like my son, is attached to his mom, really, really a lot. But then I think of a romantic partner, that's a different love. Think of a pet, that's a different love. Children, that's a different love. Friends, all type of different things. So yes, we could divide this into even further, more labels, as we would call them. All right, here there's given some illustrations of different emotions, right? And we're using babies to highlight these. So we say joy, like what would we see as someone being joyful, right? So we're saying typically this would be the expression, right? Mouth forming a smile, cheeks lifted, twinkle in the eye. Whereas we say this is anger, right? We would say identify this as anger, brows drawn together and downward, eyes fixed, right? You get his fixated eyes, and his mouth is squarish. And where we say this is interest, or maybe even curiosity. Brows raised or knitted, mouth softly rounded, lips maybe pursed, right? Pursed together. All right, so here, this example is disgust, right? Nose wrinkled, upper lip raised, tongue pushed outward. And this is surprise, right? Brows raised, eyes widened, mouth rounded in oval shape. And here's sadness. Brows, inner corners raised. So he's raised the inner corners of his eyebrows up. Mouth corners drawn down. So you can clearly see the difference in the mouth, difference in the eyes, and particularly we use our brows to kind of really express how we feel. And this last one is fear, right? Brows level, so they're kind of on the same plane, drawn in and up, eyes lifted, and mouth's corners are retracted. We'll end up here. We'll wrap this one up real quick. All right, remember in the earlier chapters we talked about the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. One that controls arousal, right, for hunger, appetite, thirst, etc., even sexual arousal, those types of things. Parasympathetic is to calm you back down. So we need, once again, we need that balance. Your body is constantly bringing things up, and the other side calms it back down. Okay? So we say our autonomic nervous system controls physiological arousal. Pupils dilate if you're aroused, yes, right? Salivation decreases when you're aroused, increases when you're calm, right? So you produce more saliva in your mouth when you're calm. You produce less when you are aroused. Sweating, right? So when you're aroused, you perspire, sweat. Your skin dries up when you're calm, right? Your breathing, respiration increases when you're aroused, it decreases when you're calm. Your heart accelerates when you're aroused, it slows down when you're calm. Your digestion, it inhibits or sort of slows down when you're aroused, right? And it activates when you're calm and relaxed. Your adrenal glands, secrete stress hormones when you're aroused, so you do feel some sort of stress, but probably in a good way. And then you decrease stress when you are calm. And your immune system function is reduced when you're aroused, so being too excited for too long, you can catch a cold really easily, or get some form of sickness or disease. And it's enhanced when you are calm. So the more relaxed you are, that's why I said when you have a cold, the best solution is to get rest. Right? Yeah, parasympathetic nervous system. All right. Like I said, any questions before we go? All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have all the grades done by the end of today. Gotta get those in before spring break, and we should be good. Now, depending on the weather, Friday we may not have class because it's supposed to be 6 to 10 minutes. But I'll send an announcement on Blackboard, so just pay attention to Blackboard. Have a good day, everyone.